What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Junkyard, Pro Wrestling Junkies' #1 podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Spencer Cantor, also known as Number 11. Throw it up, join the Dark Order. Dennis, introduce yourselves to these fine people who don't know who we are yet.
Well, if you don't know who we are by this time, well, we're going to just, I guess, have to keep on telling you until you figure it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is time to get out from whatever rock you have been living underneath and get with the program. My name is Dennis Day Jr., otherwise known as DDJ, the host of Whaddya Say with DDJ that drops every Monday on YouTube as well as all major podcasting platforms as part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad.
Cheap pop.
Well, I got to keep giving the people what they want.
And ladies and gentlemen, you tuned into the Junkyard, so you know what the people want. The people want Giovanni Too Hottie, El Guapo Too Hottie, here for all of your Junkyard listening needs, wants, and pleasures.
Whoa. Wait a minute here, guys. Hold on. Time out. This just something about this doesn't feel right today. I don't know what it is. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. This isn't the Junkyard. This is Whaddya Say with DDJ.
Attention wrestling fans, you're now about to listen to the man coming down the aisle from the main streets of South Elgin, Illinois, with a microphone in his hand and questions on his mind. This is Whaddya Say with DDJ.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 32 of Whaddya Say with DDJ. As always, I am your host, DDJ. Very special episode this week as I begin a series of what I like to call Whaddya Say with DDJ Invasion. Basically, what that is that I will be conducting interviews with the hosts of the other podcasts that are part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad. And this first episode will be feature the Junkyard, which is the other podcast that I do. And I will be talking to my other co-host, Giovanni Too Hottie and Spencer Cantor, aka Number 11. Join the Dark Order. So I just figured it'd be a great way to kind of expose my audience to some other great podcasts that are on this network. And coming soon, you will see a couple more episodes featuring the host of the other podcasts that are on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad, which, by the way, you can go wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, whatever, and just type in Pro Wrestling Junkies, and that's where you can find all of the great shows that are part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad. So let's not waste any more of your time. Grab your drink, grab something good to eat, get comfy, and kick back and enjoy episode 32 of Whaddya Say with DDJ. And my guest this week, Spencer and Jovan from the Junkyard.
This is Steve Tortorello from Warrior Wrestling in Chicago Heights, Illinois, and you are listening to Whaddya Say with DDJ. Enjoy the show, everybody.
All right. Joining me on this very special edition of Whaddya Say with DDJ is one of the two men that I co-host the Junkyard with. Those of you that listen to the show know him as Giovanni Too Hottie, El Guapo Too Hottie. But me, myself, I know him by, how do you say your given name?
Jovan Menacho.
Jovan Menacho. But you call it your given name when you give all your plugs at the end of the Junkyard, right?
That's right.
That's what I was trying to go with. I just want to make sure I did. I want to make sure that I do it right because, I want to give the people that's listening to this an idea of what to expect should they ever listen to the Junkyard. And if you like my show, why would you not listen to the Junkyard? We have a lot of fun on the show. Giovanni's a great co-host. I love working with him. Spencer, yeah, he's okay, but Giovanni, I'm going to get right into it. How did you discover pro wrestling?
Well, I am extremely blessed to have family members who watched wrestling. The biggest one would be my grandfather. My grandfather loved wrestling. To him, we watched every big show. He was a big Cactus Jack fan. So I've seen from a young age, even the death matches, the hardcore matches, these extreme things. But all of that just made me love the product.
That's awesome. So what did you, because again, you're from down in Texas, correct?
Dallas, Texas, the former home of the Sportatorium.
Born and raised?
Born and raised. This is my home. This is where I claim it's not bad.
Nice. So obviously, you mentioned the Dallas Sportatorium. Those of you who don't know, that was the main place that World Class Championship Wrestling ran their shows. I'm assuming, was that all you got down there, or did you get any other promotions?
We had WCCW. World Class was a big one. We had we also have a little bit of an indie scene now kind of popping up that the Sportatorium is gone. So it was kind of weird to see because Dallas is a big city and all the subdivisions of the city kind of have their own thing going. Like there's all pro wrestling in Dallas, and there's like a Metroplex wrestling, and then something in Haltom City. So once the Sportatorium really left, unfortunately went under, everybody started popping up with all these small little indie shows. So I mean, it's good now, but back then that was top notch.
Now, did you ever get a chance to go to a World Class Championship Wrestling show?
So I was never given the ability to go, but funny story. And if she ever hears this, she'll probably kill me. But my grandmother, she used to be a Bell's bondsman back in the day, and she would get some of the wrestlers out. And she would actually, she dated a Texas wrestler here by the name of Al. I think it was Madrigal, something like that. But my mom would, tell me things about how my grandmother would work out there, and they got to see Shawn Michaels when he was cutting his teeth. They got to see Texas Red, The Undertaker, when he was cutting his teeth. And that was a lot, they were always there. So when I came along, they didn't really want to go as much. My mom got to see the big title change where Ric Flair dropped the title to the Von Erichs in Texas Stadium. So it's like we watched wrestling back then. I think now I'm the only one who really keeps up with it consistently. But I never got the opportunity to go to the Sportatorium, man. That's something I really wish I could have been able to.
Yeah, it's one of those iconic buildings, much like in the same sense that, WWF fans have Madison Square Garden, New Japan fans have the Tokyo Dome, ECW fans have the ECW Arena. Yeah, it would have been a great place to go see a wrestling show. So when you first started watching, who were some of your early favorites?
So Cactus Jack, just because, that's who my grandfather liked and that's who he always pulled for. I was a big fan of the Von Erichs because of Texas, that's pretty much who we had. That was one of our biggest, superstars. They were celebrities here. I guess throughout the 90s, I was a big time Rock fan. I've talked about it a little bit on our podcast, The Junkyard, how The Rock got me in trouble plenty of times with me trying to smart aleck to my mom with the Rock promos. So, yeah, I mean,
let's actually real quick. So, assuming that a lot of people that listen to my show haven't had a chance to check out the Junkyard, can you share one of your stories about how The Rock kind of got?
So, crazy Rock story. When The Rock's DVD came out, The People's Champ, I wanted that DVD so bad, and it came out.
Oh, man, I love this story.
It came out during kind of close to my birthday, so I was dropping hints. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I'd made it known throughout the house. That's what I wanted. And so my birthday comes, and my mom, she takes me out to this big arcade. It was a 2-story arcade place that had just opened up in Grapevine. It was a big deal because, my mother off and on was a single mother, and to kind of spend that kind of money on this big extravagant party was a big deal. Mm-hmm. So we go to this big arcade. I'm having fun, and we get to the presents. And I'm here thinking, all right, that this is the time I'm going to get this movie. We're here at this arcade. I've got like 4 or 5 friends. Well, I didn't get the movie. I got like tickets to go to a concert that I wanted to go to. My aunt took me to some Batman stuff because I'm a big Batman fan. But granted, it was a great birthday, but my ungrateful, spoiled younger self just really wanted that Rock DVD, and boy, didn't I throw just like the queen of all hissy fits that day. And one thing about Hispanic parents, if you don't know, they're not very big on being ungrateful for what you've been given. Mm-hmm. So mind you, my mother has gone out, gotten this big party. I had a great time, but I didn't get the DVD, and I still throw a horrible just fit, telling my mom, I can't believe you didn't give me the only thing I wanted. Why do you even listen? I'm not going to tell you anything. And I got my ass beat. Oh, I got tore up. My mom went to town on me like no other. You would have thought that she was New Jack with the way she whooped my ass.
Now, these weren't like your traditional birthday spankings, were they?
No, these were full-on ECW December to dismember ass whoopings. I got it bad, man. My mom was not joking around. And this tells you how bad of an ass whooping it was. I got an ass whooping so bad after the day of my birthday because I complained about this damn DVD that she bought me the DVD on her next paycheck because she felt that bad for whooping my ass that bad.
Wow. So she did it out of guilt.
Yes, I got it out of guilt. That's how bad that whooping is. You know how bad a whooping is for someone to get you something after they beat your ass? It was a good one.
Thankfully, I don't think I've ever had my ass whooped that badly. So
my mom don't play, man. 2 things my mom didn't do. She didn't raise a punk, and she didn't raise an ungrateful son. Ooh, because boy, they'll break you. They'll break you fast.
Yeah, buddy. So what was it about pro wrestling that like drew you in?
That's it's a good question. I think in the beginning it was just the time with the family. Like my grandfather would always watch it, so sitting there with him, listening to him break down why this wrestler was good or this wrestler was getting heat, and then as I got older, starting to really put it all together and start really hating some wrestlers. And it's always a good heel that gets you into wrestling because you're like, oh, I just wish somebody whoops his ass. And then you get a good baby face in there. And, from there, you get caught up and you start to be like, man, I got to get home. Mondays after school, I got to run home and get to watch Raw. And I'm going to go over to my friend's house and we're going to watch Raw. And so it's kind of that whole thing, man. It started out just between having that time with my grandfather, and then just the characters, the pageantry, and the stories got me in.
I want to say that's really cool hearing this because that is actually almost identical into how I got into wrestling. Because I watched it with my grandpa. He used to be into it and stuff, and that kind of became our thing. So it's nice that you and I kind of have that similar, origin story about how we fell in love with pro wrestling. So obviously we've been friends for a little while, and we've talked, about shows and things like that. And I remember one topic that we covered on the Junkyard was, greatest live events that we've been to. And you mentioned going to WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. I believe you said it was with your dad.
Yes.
What was that? Obviously, WrestleMania is a bucket list item for any red-blooded American wrestling fan. I've been to WrestleMania. You've been to WrestleMania. what is it like? I mean, we all know how big WrestleMania is. It's like the Super Bowl for us wrestling fans. But what is it like to say that you were actually in the crowd for a WrestleMania?
It is so crazy when you try to relay how big it is to say you were at a Mania.
Mm.
And it's even better of a story depending on how big a WrestleMania moment happened while you were there.
Right.
And I think for me, being at 32 with my dad, we didn't have the best seats. We were standing room only inside the stadium, but I worked there before, so I knew where the best places to stand were. We had a great line of vision the whole night. It was AJ Styles' first WrestleMania, so that was another big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that ladder match where Zack Ryder finally won the belt.
Yes.
I think, even though he dropped it the next day, that moment, he's on the ladder, he has the belt over his head, he comes out and his dad rushes the ring. And then at that, they embrace, and then I'm there with my dad. He looks at me, I look at him, and we just hug it out. And I was just like, oh, we're a bunch of sappy fools. But that moment, that moment really got us.
Well, it was really interesting, too, because I remember watching that, and, I don't think anybody expected that to happen, because it seemed like a lot of people were genuinely shocked, myself included. And I was really upset and disappointed when he lost it the next night. But to kind of hear when we had Matt Cardona on one of our virtual markouts, and I remember asking him about that, and he gave a really interesting take that really changed my perspective on that whole event and stuff. And he talked about how winning the title at Mania only to lose it the next night actually made it that much more special, which was exactly the opposite of what I always believed, but just hearing his take on it, it was actually really really kind of changed my perspective on that whole match.
Yeah, because I mean, as fans, we see that and we're like, oh, he was robbed. He just got the title.
Mm-hmm.
But as wrestlers, they know you just got the rub at Mania.
Yep.
That's the big thing. I don't care what happens from now on. I got my WrestleMania moment, and that's what a lot of guys do this for.
Mm-hmm. So kind of get an idea. My audience can get a little bit of an idea. Obviously, if they listen to the Junkyard, they know what you do. But they know Giovanni Too Hotty. But tell my audience a little bit more about Jovan Menacho. Who is Jovan Menacho?
Jovan Menacho is Giovanni Too Hotty with the filter. I think when we started doing the Junkyard, and a lot of people were like, you got to liven up, you've got to really bring the energy. Well, that was my key to turn it up to 10 or to 11. And
no, don't say 11. That's Spencer's number. We don't want him having a hissy fit.
Hey, I was gonna do it for him, but he's not here to pop up and say that's my number.
That's exactly why I don't want to hear him complaining about this. So
Giovanni Too Hotty is basically me turned all the way up. The craziness, the funniness, it's all the way up. Jovan Menacho, the person on a day-to-day basis, I've got a real good sense of humor. I get it from my father. We are both very smart-assy kind of people. And this is something I recently learned about us, actually. We don't deal with things the right way. I don't think people would consider us dealing with stuff healthy because we just make jokes about everything. My uncle recently passed, which was my dad's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing my dad could really say, because we were with him when he passed, my uncle passed in his apartment, which was good. He had his own room, his bed and everything. And my dad, the only thing he could say, he looked at me and he goes, well, at least he didn't die in the recliner in my house. I looked at him, I said, Dad, what the hell? And he goes, well, because your sisters would have found him and the dog would have been humping him. And I'm like, oh, that's how we process everything. We turn it into a big joke. So it's
that's awesome.
It may be bad and it might be good at times, but that's who we are, man. We have a real low filter. For anybody that listens to the Junkyard, Giovanni Too Hotty has no filter.
No,
but in real life, I do kind of watch what I say, and I'm not crazy, and I legitimately have no beef with Jorge Conti breaking kayfabe there. Does that mean
wait, so you mean to tell me this whole Jorge Conti thing, it's not real.
Breaking kayfabe, and I hate making the business look like it's fake. That might be the cornet in me, but 110%. I'm not crazy, and I'm not going to beat up Jorge Conti. I mean, it's just it might happen one day on a spare chance because his wife is extremely beautiful, and like if this was old school rules back in the day where people dueled out for stuff, and I could be like, hey, I will fight you for your wife, then you better believe I'm going to give him hell. But no, just on the normal cuff, Jovan Menacho has no issues with Jorge Conti. Giovanni Tuhati does, but Chase Owens, Jovan Menacho does have beef with you. That's real beef.
And if you want to get all this, the background on Jovan's beef with Chase Owens and his beef with Jorge Conti, make sure you listen to the Junkyard every Tuesday on both YouTube as well as all major podcasting platforms, because that's where the real juiciness comes from.
Oh yeah,
and that's so yeah. So we and you, and you reminded me of this a few months ago when we first started doing the Junkyard. In fact, I think it was our the Fan Fest episode that we talked about. You and I had a run-in that I completely forgot about, and you had to remind me of that. Why don't you share that little story with my audience?
So this predates the Junkyard. This was actually when we were in the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group. I would see DDJ post photos of himself. You know, we were at a lot of the events at the same time, but we never really had known each other or spoken to each other, which is crazy. But we start talking about doing this podcast, and they're telling me, oh yeah, we're going to do, Spencer and DDJ and you, and we're going to put it together. I was like, oh, okay, that could work. Let me meet these guys, see what they're all about, and see if we mesh. And right as that's happening, DDJ posts a photo on the group of him in his MJF t-shirt and his scarf. And then as soon as I see it, I had no idea who DDJ was yet. Like I hadn't formally met him, excuse me. I go, holy crap, I know this guy. So I think when we're talking about, live events and, fan expos, I was like, yeah, I don't think you remember it, but I have a memory of like an elephant because I'm really good with faces. And I'm like, we stood in line together at StarCast. I can't remember which line it was, but I know we heard MJF roasting people. You had the pink shirt on. You had your MJF scarf on. And I was probably in the Kenny Omega shirt because I'm a big Kenny mark. But I was like, yeah, we talked for like a second or two. And that was it. You gone and never thought I would see DDJ again. So weird way how wrestling had a way of bringing everybody together.
That actually is a perfect segue into my next question is, what is it about, in your opinion, what is it about pro wrestling that really allows its fans to connect with one another? Because it seems like no other major sport, like I don't see it in baseball, I don't see it in football, basketball, hockey, golf, NASCAR, whatever. It just seems like the fan base in pro wrestling has a way or a style unlike any other, where like just total strangers can become best friends. Not talking about Trent and Chucky T, like just in the blink of an eye. What do you think about that? And like in your opinion, what is like why do you feel that is?
So you're naming all the major sports, and people have these affiliation with all these major sports based mostly on their geographical location. Where are you from? That mostly drives who you cheer for. And it's accepted. A lot of people like all the major sports. No one's going to say, oh, I hate football, I hate baseball, I hate basketball. 99% of the time, people are going to sit down and talk, any of those sports with you. But when you see a wrestling fan and you're both wearing a Bullet Club shirt, you're both wearing a Young Bucks shirt, you're both wearing, some wrestler that you both like, it's that instant connection of me too. I like that guy too. Yep. And it's just something there. Like, not a lot of people like wrestling. Unfortunately, it's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit with some people, which I don't judge. You guys are missing out some good stuff right now. But when you see another fan, you know, it takes dedication to be a wrestling fan. You put a lot of time into it, watching all these shows, and you see somebody else with either your same interest or someone that you like, and you're just like instantly, whoa, me too, man, me too. I like that guy too. Hey, how you doing? My name is, you know, and you get into it. But you know, I live in Texas. I go down the street and I see 15 Ranger t-shirts, 60 Cowboys jerseys, Mavericks gear everywhere. But if I see one guy walking down the street with a freaking Bullet Club shirt, I'm throwing up and gone.
Yeah, I always like going to, like, when I'm out somewhere, because most of the time I'm out and about, I'm wearing one of my wrestling t-shirts, maybe my AEW, you know, hoodie. And my wife, every time we go somewhere, if it's me and my wife and my kid, we go somewhere and someone like points at my shirt or acknowledges, you know, my hoodie or something, my wife kind of just goes, oh, you know, and I kind of get a little smirk and it's like, yeah, buddy. And that's so she always rolls her eyes and stuff, you know. So I get a little bit of enjoyment watching my wife react that way. But yeah, I couldn't have said that any better myself. So we talked about a little earlier about who some of your favorites were back then. But let's talk about who are some of your favorites now and why.
Now, I am a big fan of Kenny Omega. I think it's just the main reasons is I was very fortunate to have a friend who was big into NJPW, and when Kenny started making his stride to being the cleaner and this 6-star machine, that's when I really started focusing on to do New Japan, because I've always watched. But I started really paying attention and really saying, man, I need to watch this. I need to stay up and watch these shows because this guy is killing the business. To me, he had the moveset incredible, and his character was an hero, kind of akin to like what Stone Cold Steve Austin would do. He's not 100% heel. He's not 100% face, but you want to cheer this guy on because whatever he's saying is gold. So that's why I'm down with Omega, big time Omega fan. And Cody Rhodes, I was a big time fan of Cody. Just a big time fan of Dustin, big time fan of Dusty, the whole family, man. I mean, they're really, really top notch wrestlers. And then the Texas thing with Dustin, of course, being from Austin. Cody, unfortunately, was born in Georgia, so we can't claim him. But we got Dustin. And, so that kind of gave us, another hometown guy to cheer that's still going now. And I had the pleasure of meeting him, really wonderful guy. And,
Dustin was awesome.
Talk shop with Dustin and talking shop with Cody. These guys, Cody's a big time video game nerd. You want to talk to Cody Rhodes, ask him about Zelda. He'll talk your ear off.
Oh, I bet. Look at his boots he used to wear.
Yes. Had the Triforce on it.
Yep.
But besides the guys from AEW, because I'm real big into AEW right now. I think everything they're doing hopefully is the shakeup that the industry needs. But outside of that, a good friend of mine, if you watch the Junkyard, I'll be remiss if I didn't include him, is the man they call Moose, the current TNA heavyweight champion. Just a hell of a guy. Little quick Moose story is when Moose knew he was going to win the belt at Slammiversary, we were joking around because he was going to do the signing with somebody I knew. Well, not somebody I knew, but somebody that I heard of. And he was like, hey, do you know this person? I know you buy some stuff. And, is this a reputable person? And I was like, I can't tell you 100% yes or no. But I have seen him around, and I do know that this person, at least, most of the people have good interactions with them. And Moose is like, okay, yeah, great, no worries. So he does the signing with the guy, and then Moose sends me a message, and he goes, hey, I just redesigned the belt. Give it a look. And it's the white belt. And I was like, oh, man, that's really nice. And he goes, you like it? I said, heck yeah, I like it. It's going to look amazing. He said, I'll send you one. I'm like, I'll send you one. No crap. Like, 5 days later in the mail came a box from Moose from Florida, and I opened it up and it's the title right there. And I was like, golly, man, this guy is something else. He's pretty cool. But yeah, we football stuff and everything. That's kind of where I know Moose first. But he's top notch, grade A guy. Really, really one of the people who came from outside of wrestling into wrestling, who has done the work. He's put in, hard time doing what he does. And if you've seen him now, he's jacked. He's gotten really, really serious about his physical condition. And I can't put him over the moon more.
Yeah, well, you talk about him being the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. By the time this drops, it may not be the case because we're recording this on Thursday, March 11th, and we're 2 days out from the big title for title match between him and Rich Swann. So, but yeah, no, we're really big fans of Moose on the Junkyard. I mean, we're all very highly praising him, especially after his performance. I believe it was that Hard to Kill in that 6-man where he really was the star of that match and stuff like that. And definitely the future looks bright for him, regardless of what happens at this show on Saturday and stuff. But yeah, so again, main reason why I have you on here today is I'm doing a little bit of a series of specials on the different profiling the different hosts of the different podcasts that we have on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad. So before I let you go, tell my audience who may not necessarily have had a chance to listen to the Junkyard what the Junkyard is, what we do, and why they should start listening.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the Whaddya Say with DDJ Nation out there, if you haven't listened to the Junkyard, what are you waiting for? We're on the same platform where you find this great podcast. We just drop a day later. It's 3 guys, me, DDJ, and Spencer. We talk shop. We talk about wrestling. We give our honest opinions. We may get a little animated. We may get a little hot. But we do what we do best, and that's going off the rails in our form. Patent pending for the Junkyard.
Coming soon to a t-shirt near you.
Yes, sir.
So, well, righty then. Well, hey, Jovan, I want to take the time to thank you for doing this with me. It's a great way for people to, again, get exposed to the Junkyard. Maybe those that listen to the Junkyard, maybe they learned something new about one of the co-hosts.
Hopefully, we're pretty wild and crazy on the show, so this is a good little change of speed. I'm not amped up and ready to tear through somebody, but it's a good little change of speed.
Yeah, well, yeah, and also too, if you guys listen to the Junkyard, you might recognize Giovanni's voice because he's the one that does all the great Blue Chew and Manscaped plugs.
We are desperately trying to get that sponsorship. I'm going to keep doing those crazy, wacky plugs until somebody tells me to stop.
Or sends us some free stuff and says, yeah, we're going to sponsor you now.
I think one of our fellow hosts, Isaac from Such Good Shoot, called dibs on the Blue Chew, so we may have to send it his way if we do.
Wait a minute. We've been doing... Well, hold on a second. Before we go, I just got to say, Isaac, I love you, man. You're part of the crew and stuff, but we've been doing Blue Chew plugs a lot longer.
Yes.
So we may have to do a little 6-man here. Blue Chew on a pole match.
I'm down. Blue Chew on a pole match. Book it.
Alrighty then. Well, you heard it here first. The Junkyard versus SGS, Blue Chew on a pole match, and you heard it here first on Whaddya Say with DDJ. Giovanni, my man, I love you, bro. Let's keep rocking, and I will talk to you soon.
Hell yeah, DDJ. Thank you for having me on. Much love.
Wrestling fans, Steve Aaron here, one half the commentary team of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, also the general manager of Chicago Style Wrestling. And you are listening to Whaddya Say with DDJ.
All right, I am back on this very special episode of What Do You Say with DDJ, and joining me now is the other co-host of the Junkyard that I do, and this gentleman joining me today is my very good, dear, close, personal, longtime friend, Spencer Cantor, also known as Number 11. Join the Dark Order. Spencer, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I made sure you remembered that. I'd always say join the Dark Order when you say number 11. But I'm doing great tonight, Dennis. Thanks for having me on tonight.
No problem, buddy. I mean, what profile would be what profile of the Junkyard would be complete without having you on here, because you're just as equal, integral to this show as myself and Jovan. So I definitely had to have you on. So I'm going to get right into it. First question I usually ask all of my guests on this show, and I'm going to make no exception here. Spencer, how did you discover pro wrestling?
All right, so I discovered pro wrestling, I think, early. As I was a child, my older brother, was a big fan of pro wrestling, so he always had it on. So I was watching, like Raw, SmackDown. Actually got me involved with TNA, but that was just kind of just watching it and knowing a little bit about it. But back when I really started to get into it was like 2007, 2008. That's when I really started getting into it myself, seeking it out, wanting to watch Raw, wanting to watch Impact, wanting to watch SmackDown. So that's how I got ingrained into pro wrestling. That was like the beginning of the stages, but there was a period from like 2008 to 2011. I was like just a casual fan, hadn't bought any t-shirts, no figures, no nothing. But then in 2016, I fell in love with it again, or actually probably fell in love with it for the first time. And then the rest, as they say, is history. And I've been a big fan since. And now we're doing a whole podcast about pro wrestling, and I get to talk with you tonight, my man.
Yeah, it's. I always look forward to us doing our shows and stuff, because I know we get to talk about the one thing that really brought us all together here, and that's pro wrestling. But it's also just fun talking shop with a couple of really cool guys, And I mean, we're when this episode drops, will be the day before we drop our 20th episode of the Junkyard, and it's just hard to believe, that that's been going on not even 6 months, and it's been a great ride and stuff. So when you first started watching wrestling, who were some of your favorites, like when you first started watching wrestling?
So when I first started watching wrestling, I would say, probably the common names like Stone Cold, Rock, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, John Cena, like the normal ones you might hear. But then as I started watching it more as more of an educated fan, one name that has stuck with me since the beginning and even to this day, that is my favorite professional wrestler of all time, the one, the only, AJ Styles, the phenomenal AJ Styles. One thing I can say about him is he actually lives about 20, 30 minutes away from me. So that was always cool because he's always announced from Gainesville, Georgia. Again, I don't live that far from there. So that was always cool to hear that. And then I could just kind of relate with him. And he was always pulled off these amazing moves in the ring. I didn't think I would ever see anybody like him. I mean, there's other people now that are doing what he did back then, but just the way he's carried himself inside and outside of the ring is very respectful and admirable. And he's somebody I would like to meet one day, but haven't gotten that chance. But definitely AJ Styles, favorite wrestler of all time, and somebody I've been following the career of for sure. So definitely a favorite of mine.
Awesome. So one of the things I always like to ask my guests when we talk about, like, getting into wrestling and, like, when you first started watching, who your earliest favorites, what is like your earliest memory of professional wrestling? Like, what's like the earliest thing you remember seeing happen, be it at just on a Monday Night Raw or an episode of Impact or whatever. Like, what is like your earliest memory of wrestling?
So probably the earliest memory, and I don't know if I can give you a specific thing, but I mean like just watching. I would say just like watching like Raw or SmackDown or Impact, just whenever they were on TV. I can't name like the specific moment or match or anything. It's just, seeing the high flying, action on the screen. What honestly really got me into wrestling, I think, was my love for Power Rangers. Still honestly a fan to this day. It was these teenagers with attitude. That's the whole statement there.
Yep.
And they kicked butt, a lot of martial arts and everything. And once I saw like there was a version of that on TV, I was like, holy crap, it's like real life Power Rangers. And it was just so cool to be able to see that. But then, diving more into it and, growing up is like, okay, that's cool when I saw that like as a kid, but, now and seeing everything, it's just like, okay, I have a great respect for the business now. And some of these people are so freaking athletic, and I will never be anywhere close to that.
Do not feel bad, because I am right there with you when it comes to not being athletic enough, because I'm definitely not.
Yeah, but hey, you're doing a great job on your weight loss journey. I think you've lost about 80 pounds now. You're killing it, man. So just keep up the great work. I know you're going to hit 100 soon.
Yeah, well, I know somebody out there has threatened me with 100 push-ups if I don't get to 100 pounds, and that's ultimately where I want to be. If I can get to where I've lost 100 pounds, I'd say that'd be a good place to kind of, level off there and stuff. But enough about me and my weight loss. Kind of going back into our conversation here. So obviously wrestling's the one thing that brought us together and stuff. And something that I asked Jovan earlier in the show was, what is it about wrestling fans and just wrestling in general that really makes it unique compared to like the fan bases of, say, Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA? We all have our favorite teams that we root for. In your case, you have about 5 or 6, depending on who's winning and stuff. But anyways, though, what is it about professional wrestling fans that really separate us from like the fan bases of other sports, in your opinion?
Okay. First off, I do have like a few teams I root for. I think there's a lot of people that do that, but my main team with football or anything is the Alabama Crimson Tide. I want that on the record. That is my team. I will never waver from them, whether it be the Atlanta Falcons, the 49ers, the Tennessee Titans. Those might waver, but that will never not. So that's on the record. But then getting back into the question you actually just asked. So with the fans with pro wrestling, I would say it makes us different because I kind of feel like more as like a family and friend atmosphere with wrestling fans. Like these are people that you can live in the moment with and celebrate with, like if there's like a crazy heel turn or a big return like a Royal Rumble or something, or hell, even doing it like with our Zoom calls and Facebook Messenger calls or anything right now, it brings people together. Yes, like other sports like baseball and football and everything, like they have their fan bases and everything and very passionate, but those are just based on like a certain like team or something. But this, like, there's so many different like wrestlers. Like anybody could be a fan of like Lucha Libre or New Japan or something, and they could instantly become friends. So like anybody, you could meet like somebody from Mexico or Japan or some of the United States or Australia. Like you can all connect over this one love of professional wrestling, and that's kind of one thing I think that makes professional wrestling fans just different from any of the other type of fans.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I mean, one of the things that I definitely like about the wrestling fan base is that it seems to me that the wrestling fans are the friendliest. I mean,
yeah.
Anytime you go to a show, a lot of times you can go to a show or like say a convention or an autograph signing or any kind of event where professional wrestling is being represented, you could go by yourself, but you're guaranteed to make at least one new friend. You know, I mean, I've had a few shows I've gone to where I've gone by myself and I'd sit next to someone and we would just end up just talking throughout the whole night, you know, and stuff. And I just think that's one thing I like most about that. So obviously, you know, we talked about the you know, what you get your earliest memories of wrestling and, you know, how you got into it and stuff. And I think it's pretty much a given fact that, you know, you follow the current product. I mean, you're notorious for not watching all shows every week, you know, unlike me and Jovan, you know, especially when it comes to prepping for our show. But you're very passionate about pro wrestling. I mean, you're very passionate about our podcast. You're very passionate about the Pro Wrestling Junkies group and stuff like that. What if you could pick like one thing that's been the most rewarding about doing the Junkyard, what would that be and why?
One thing that's rewarding, it's definitely not working with you guys because you keep burying me all the time.
Oh, well, you're not innocent, little Mr. Innocent there. You've been known to sling a few our way, so.
Yeah. If you can take it, you can dish it. That's exactly the whole additive. But one thing that's, you know, just been a really great part of being with the Junkyard is before the Junkyard was even formed, like we had just talked in another chat before, and we really haven't known each other. And then I didn't even know Jovan, and then our buddy Jacob, he's like, hey, we're going to do a podcast and we're going to get you three together. And we do like a few test runs and everything. And we just click like that.
Yep.
Like we're on episode 20, like you said, that's dropping tomorrow after episode 32 of yours today. And it's just amazing to see where we've gone with this. Like, we're still working out a few kinks and everything, figuring out our flow and everything. But for the most part, like we have like our inside jokes. We got funny thing. We have Jovan's list. That's a great thing that we have on there. Our funny sponsorships. Maybe one day those will be real sponsorships.
Please.
But it's just amazing the interaction I can have with you and Jovan and how we just flow so well together. It's uncanny, honestly.
So the Junkyard is you're kind of like the lead on this. You're the captain of the ship and everything.
I'm the captain now.
What's that?
It's that movie with Tom Hanks and the one meme, Captain Hanks or whatever, and the guy goes like, "I'm the captain now."
Yes, and you do a great job of steering our ship. But for those like that maybe are thinking about getting into podcasting, that's like so just to let everyone know, you do all the editing and you know you put everything together for the Junkyard, much like I do for my show. Whaddya Say? Mm-hmm. For those that are thinking about getting into podcasting, is there any like advice that you could give to someone like in terms of what they should do before just jumping right into it, or, you know, just kind of things to pay attention to look out for?
So I would say if you want to get started with a podcast, one, don't be afraid. Like, figure out what you want to do and just, you got a computer, you have a phone. Even if you don't have like a good microphone like this or something, you can eventually get into that with the lights and everything with video, but just dip your feet in the water and just try it out. Get your voice out there. Staying silent when you have something to say is absolutely the worst thing you can do. Mm-hmm. Like ever since, you know, Pro Wrestling Junkie started, I had a voice and I'm like, I have something to say. And then the podcast came along and then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be okay to do a podcast. I'm kind of scared, but just ever since the beginning and just starting it, I've kind of found my voice. I've been vocal about what I like, what I don't like. So my biggest advice is just don't be afraid. Just do it. I'm not taking that from Nike, but seriously, just do it. Just stick your feet in the water or just go head first and don't worry about having the best equipment. Just go for it. And another big thing is just make sure you guys stay on a schedule. Early on in the beginning, when we were still figuring things out, there were times like maybe we missed a week or something. It's like, no, we can't do that. We actually do have fans. We got to keep the content coming out. So we have our regular episodes, and sometimes we drop our predictions or reactions. Got a bonus episode coming up about New Japan soon, many more to follow. So we just got to keep putting out great content and, helping build this great network and great brand that we've been so fortunate to be a part of.
So one of the things that, is always really vital to, growing a brand or growing a business is kind of getting that out, that getting the business, getting the group, getting it out there in the open. So, getting exposure for, so everyone can check it out. Yeah. And one of the ways that we've decided to go about doing that is kind of getting involved with our local independent promotions. Mm-hmm. I know you're very involved with, and you go to the shows with us. I believe it's called Southern Honor Wrestling. That's correct?
Yes.
And that's so. And you have on behalf our Pro Wrestling Junkies. Thanks to you, will be sponsoring. I believe it's the main event of an upcoming show. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we actually sponsored the last show, Southern Honor Wrestling 25. The main event was David Ali versus Sunny Days in a first blood match for the Southern Honor Championship. So that match has already happened, but I don't think it's on IWTV yet. So when that is available, I'll share it in the group and everything. But yes, there was... After, with the group and everything, we were trying to think of more opportunities to try to get our name out there because, we do have a nice core fan base right now, but it's kind of stagnant. So we're trying to figure out ways to get our name out there. And you're doing your own with Chicago Championship Wrestling, and then you're doing that. And I contacted my friend. I'm like saying, hey, do you guys have a sponsorship opportunity? And he told me the price. I'm just like, probably not right now. But then after that main event was made, I'm like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to try to jump on this. I got a few of us together. We got the money together. We got to put together, and we got like a post saying, hey, this main event match is going to be sponsored by Pro Wrestling Junkies. Probably got like 10 or 20 people to join the group. So even if it's just one person, just getting our name out there, getting these sponsorship opportunities. And then when we haven't even got on IWTV yet, but when we do, hopefully, if not the people that saw it in like the Southern Honor group, the people that see it like an IWTV or even further, possibly, AEW, because they have connections with Southern Honor Wrestling. Whoever sees that could possibly, find out about us and, help the brand grow. It's all about, helping grow Pro Wrestling Junkies, because we've said it from the very beginning. We would love for this to turn into an opportunity to be able to quit our day jobs and make a living with this. That's still far away from happening, but just having that dream and passion and ambition, I think, is what's going to take us to the next level. So I think these sponsorship opportunities are great, and whenever the opportunity arises and it makes sense, we're going to keep doing them.
Absolutely. You said you alluded to Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. We're going to be, Pro Wrestling Junkies is going to be very involved with that show, as we're going to be sponsoring a 6-man tag team match during that show, and then my podcast is actually going to be sponsoring a match as well. And our logos are featured on the new poster and the tickets for the with the new show date coming up on June 12th. So that's really cool to see, our logo and to see my logo out there, and that and stuff. And then again, as you know, and those of you who have followed the show know that myself, along with my fellow Junkyard co-host Giovanni Tuhati, and then Toilet Side Wrestling Talk, and one of the hosts of the newest podcast of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad, Brad and Stevens Talking Wrestling, Brad Marcus, we're going to be doing some sort of pre-show for Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. Details are still being worked on, and as soon as we know how you can listen or how you can watch the pre-show, we'll be sure to pass that along to you. But kind of going back into wrestling, obviously we know, you watch the current product. and that. So, but we talked about who your favorites were when you first started. Who are
Right.
some of your favorites now?
Okay, so I think we just need to go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off. My nickname on the Junkyard is number 11, so we're going to start there. The Dark Order, the faction as a whole. Before Brody Lee came into the faction and became the Exalted One, R.I.P. Brody, it wasn't really, a big Dark Order fan. I will admit that because, they came in kind of lame, but then, it started picking up pace. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then after that happened, the group found its identity, and then being the elite helped them. You had John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Alan Angels, Preston Vance, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, Colt Cabana. Finally, he made his way in there eventually, and then of course Anna Jay, which some people might say I simp over, but that's not true. I just think she's a very talented wrestler. Does she happen to be?
I think it's a little bit more than just that.
Does she happen to be a very attractive woman? Yes. But that's a whole different issue there. But anyways, yes, the Dark Order, definitely one of my favorite factions going today, and I can't wait to see what they do with everybody involved in that faction. So I want to go ahead and get that out of the way. But then going into like singles wrestlers, I got to go with like the main staples. Kenny Omega is killing it. Fantastic AEW World Champion. I do like Cody Rhodes. I have been very critical of him, but I do think he brings a lot to the business, and especially his outside exposure, with the Go Big Show and all his different sponsorships and opportunities and everything. I think he's done a great job with the world of professional wrestling. Now, his characters, on the other hand, are very questionable, but for the most part, Cody's great. Then I want to give a shout out to MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. This guy is probably one of the best heels I've seen in quite some time. He just, had the revelation that there was, the new faction being formed, still waiting on the name. We actually talked about that in quite a lot of detail on our episode of The Junkyard, which is dropping tomorrow. Cheap plug.
Hey, let's do it, man.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely everything they're doing with him and now being involved in that faction, is going to do nothing but wonders there. Then one guy that I'm a big fan of now that I was not a fan of back in the days, and that's Roman Reigns. He's really turned me around. Back in the day, he was getting booed because he was, the boring baby face, but then he came back at SummerSlam. He flipped the switch. He became the head of the table, the tribal chief, won the Universal Championship, and is killing it on SmackDown. So definitely want to give a big shout out. And then probably one final guy, actually probably two guys, Adam Cole and Finn Balor of NXT. Both those guys are great. Didn't really know too much about Adam Cole before NXT. I mean, I saw a few of his matches, but then NXT definitely, that's where he's built his brand, built his name and everything. And then of course, Finn Balor, I didn't know too much about him, but I saw him on SmackDown and Raw. I was like, this guy's interesting. And then NXT, he's killed it. So those are just a few of my favorites with the guys. And then women, you got the obvious ones like Sasha and Bailey. Those two are great. And then Io Shirai is killing it in NXT. She's very talented. The sky's the limit for her. And then in AEW, Britt Baker has really turned me around. Like, I was kind of interested in her at first, but then she had this amazing heel turn, and now looks to be going after the AEW Women's Championship soon. So can't wait for that. So those are just kind of a few of my favorites in the current day product.
Cool. That's great little variety there. So if you could pick out one match like that stands above everything else you've watched over the years, I guess lack of a guess to rephrase the question, in your opinion, what is the greatest match you've ever seen and why?
So are you saying like the greatest match I've ever seen live or just like on TV?
Just in general. It could be live or general, just maybe overall. So live and on TV.
Okay. So that's a tough one because as a wrestling fan, you see a lot of matches. The first match I can think of off the top of my head that really sticks out to me was a match that I got to see live in Las Vegas. That was at Double or Nothing 2019, I believe.
Yes.
Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes. That match was amazing. It had some fantastic storytelling. I think it won multiple awards for Match of the Year.
Yep.
Definitely one of my favorite matches to see live. I got to be front row. I got to see Dustin bleed in front of me, all the blood on the mat in front of me. So that was amazing. Probably that was live. Now, just giving another one for one I've seen on TV. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention what happened to be, our junkie pick of the week back from our junkies last year. The Young Bucks versus Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega from Revolution 2020. That tag match is probably one of the greatest tag matches, if not the greatest tag match of all time. Great storytelling, great in-ring work, just amazing from top to bottom. Definitely two great matches in recent memory that will stand the test of time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll talk about it ad nauseum because I saw that match live, and that is the greatest match I've ever seen live, and it was just surreal to be in the audience for that. And guys, if you want to see Spencer's genuine reactions, go to shopaew.com, pick yourself up a copy of Double or Nothing on 2019 on DVD, and you can see Spencer in all his glory reacting to Cody versus Dustin. So, and if you want to see me react to the events of All Out, pick up a copy of that on DVD. Just look for the guy in the hot pink shirt and the MJF scarf.
Yeah, as we say on our show, that's your one per episode.
Hey, well, this is my show, so I get as many as I want. So. But a couple more questions here, and then I will let you go. So I had Giovanni. I asked Giovanni this, and I'm going to ask you this as well too. I asked him, we all know who Giovanni Too Hottie is, but I said, I wanted him to tell my audience who Jovan Menacho was. So obviously we know who number 11 is if you listen to the Junkyard, but I want people to get an idea of who the man behind number 11 is. So Spencer, don't tell the audience about number 11. Tell the audience about Spencer Cantor.
All right. Spencer Cantor. I'm 28 years old. I live in Flower Branch, Georgia. Right now I am currently a beer helper, merchandiser, whatever, for this company called Northeast Sales. They mainly do Miller. That's just kind of the day to the day. Qualities about me that may probably separate me from number 11. I'm a very hardworking individual. Sometimes can be lazy. But hey, this is my time.
My show.
Oh, all right. I'll remember that.
Carry on, my friend.
I know, it's okay. Let me, man. Okay. So, can be lazy at times, as Dennis very well pointed out. But I have strong family values. I love my friends. If anybody is friends with me and we build a great relationship, I will basically bend over backwards for you. And I think I'm a very trustworthy individual. If you tell me something, you can rest assured I will keep it safe. So definitely good friend, trustworthy, hard worker. Again, sometimes lazy, but that's just comes with the territory. And then kind of just some things I like to do. I as you know, I do like to watch wrestling, and that has consumed a lot of my life, especially with Pro Wrestling Junkies. But occasionally I like to pick up a video game, maybe play it. I do have actually two systems behind me that I haven't played in a very long time. I like to watch TV, movies. Just finished watching WandaVision few weeks ago. Can't wait for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's going to be great. And then, just all those. And then I'll definitely check out probably the Snyder Cut, even though I'm not really a big fan of all that. And then, all the movies and everything. Big comic book guy. And then, as I said earlier, I am a big fan of Power Rangers. So I don't know if you guys can see me. There is a lot of collectibles behind me. And I do collect the Lightning collection of the Power Rangers line. So that's Spencer Cantor, not number 11. Number 11 is a huge Dark Order fan and will put over Pro Wrestling Junkies ad nauseum. Oh, wait, Spencer does that too.
To Spencer, I just got one more question to ask you in regards to that. Do you also like long walks on the beach?
Yeah, I like long walks on the beach, strolling under the moonlight. If anybody wants to hit me up of the female type, just hit me up. All my socials, I'll plug all those soon. Let's talk, especially if you like wrestling. We'll definitely talk.
Yeah, just slide into his DMs. All right. So mentioned last question I got for you here, and then we're going to call it a night. It's a two-parter. So those that listen to my show, there's probably some out there that may not listen to the Junkyard. Spencer, take a couple minutes and tell the people that listen to my show that haven't listened to the Junkyard why they should listen to the Junkyard.
Okay, well, first off, if you're listening to Dennis's show, What Do You Say with DDJ, don't forget the question mark on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad, and you haven't listened to us, one, why haven't you? But if you haven't, let me go ahead and tell you, and you can crawl out from under that rock you've been living under. That's a little cheap plug because that's Dennis's part on the show, how we open. But guys, for real, the Junkyard is basically that. It's conglomeration of all things pro wrestling. The big thing we do is we do what happened this week in wrestling. We break down like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Impact, AEW, even some New Japan. We break all that down, like hit the highlights of everything. So if you have only time, like 1 to 2 hours, depending on how much we talk, if you only have that much time in the week and you kind of just want to get a recap of everything, we break that down for you. And I think we actually provide some very good insight and everything. I know we're fans and you can go to probably more professional broadcast and everything. But if you just want to listen to three guys basically just talk wrestling, just like you're maybe just having a beer or something, you're just talking wrestling with friends, like that's the place to go. So definitely check out the Junkyard for that reason, for sure. And then of course, when you listen to the Junkyard, then you can finally get into like all these inside jokes and find out about Jovan's list and the many call outs to one Jorge Conti on there. So I think those reasons alone are reasons enough to check out the Junkyard. And then just quick plug real quick. Also, make sure you guys are listening to all the other podcasts on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad. Such Good Shoot with Shane, Isaac, and Dozer. And then, as Dennis said, Brad and Steven have their new show, Steven and Brad Talking Wrestling, that just recently came on the network. Available on Wednesdays. Great, easily digestible show. Steven is an absolute star in the making. He has a segment on our virtual markout, Steve's 3, if you've ever seen that. He just steals the show, basically, and has great questions and insight with the professional wrestlers and personalities he talks with. So definitely check out the Junkyard, but make sure you check out all the podcasts on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad for sure. And
the second part of this question, tell a lot of people that listen to the show may not necessarily are part of this group. They may have not even heard of the group, but tell my audience about Pro Wrestling Junkies.
All right. So Pro Wrestling Junkies is a positive wrestling community, and that is something we preach and try to uphold to the best of our ability, because there's still going to be people, that come in and want to just stir up stuff, but we try to put a stop to that. Now, Pro Wrestling Junkies is, a safe space. Anybody can come in. It doesn't matter what gender, what race, what political preference you are. We'll take you. I mean, if you do stir up trouble, we will kick you out. That's just comes with the nature of the beast. But it's a great place to interact with wrestling fans. And not just that, but like open discussion, have a civil discussion. Great like photos are shared, matches, everything. All our members contribute some really great information, stories and everything within that group. But then also off our main Pro Wrestling Junkies group, we now have the new group that was our Pro Wrestling Junkies Marketplace. It's the Pro Wrestling Junkies Razzies, card breaks, and rumbles. That's where like the admins will put up these awesome like dollar amount, like $5 or $10. It really doesn't matter. But like 10 spots, whatever. And it used to be we're doing a number generator, but we found this thing with like a duck race now.
Yep.
So you put in that and you watch the ducks race, and then whatever duck comes in first place wins the prize. So that's just one cool way we're kind of innovating things with that. And then, we got the card breaks where either myself or Jacob will do card breaks. And then Jacob will do rumbles sometimes. But then also one really big thing that sets Pro Wrestling Junkies apart from a lot of people is our virtual markouts. We've had the absolute pleasure, and I still don't know how we got some of these names. We've had WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle. We've had AEW World Champion Kenny Omega. We've had TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose. We've had Impact Knockouts Champion Deonna Purrazzo. That's just to name a few. But
we also just recently had the legendary WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart as well.
That's right. I couldn't even forget Bret. That was one of our most successful ones of all time. But just having all those people and getting this opportunity to speak with them, and some of them we've been fortunate enough to have like signed items and do like private stuff on the side and everything. Mm-hmm. But it's just amazing to see where we've come. And the funny thing is, this group, this brand is not even a year old. I think probably officially start like May, June. So we still have a good 3-4 months before we even get to that 1 year anniversary. Yep. And the things we've done with everybody we've brought in to help contribute to the group, it's just amazing to see. And it just makes me so excited for the future and where we're going. Like, we've hit a few bumps and stuff along the way, but that's just that comes with the territory. Mm-hmm. But once you start figuring your momentum and everything, you put your foot on that gas, you accelerate, and you don't stop until you reach the top.
That's awesome. So, alrighty then. Well, Spencer, I want to take a minute to thank you for coming on and letting the world get to know more about yourself and about our show, the Junkyard and the Pro Wrestling Junkies group and stuff. So again, thanks so much for coming on. And any last minute plugs that you want to get in, or are we good?
No, I kind of want to get some plugs in here real quick.
Please go ahead. How can people reach you?
All right. You guys can reach me on my Twitter account at number11SC. You can reach me on the Facebook group, Spencer Cantor. Pretty simple. But if Dennis doesn't, I want to go ahead and plug all our amazing social media platforms for Pro Wrestling Junkies. And he'll do the pointing thing. He does that on the Junkyard too. PW_Junkies, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. When you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, because we have all our amazing podcasts on there in video form. Then we have Brad Marcus does Show and Tell, Getting to Know a Junkie, Toilet Side Wrestling, which is actually now going on audio forms now, so you can be able to check out those. We just recently had former WWE Women's Champion Candice Michelle on there. So yeah, make sure you check all those out. Go join the group Pro Wrestling Junkies, and then go join the new Pro Wrestling Junkies Razzies card breaks and rumbles to get your gambling needs in. And then also make sure you guys go check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, prowrestlingtees.com/Pro Wrestling Junkies. Get yourself a Pro Wrestling Junkies shirt and rep the brand. But I think that's about it. So yeah, Dennis, thank you for having me on. Thank you for having Jovan on and giving us this spotlight. And I can't wait to hear what the others have to say when they come on for the invasion.
Absolutely. You also forgot to mention what you and I do. Let me out. You open your WWE Elite figures, and I open up some micro brawlers and stuff. So yeah, that's one big thing. There's a lot of great content that we put out on our YouTube page. So yeah, guys, like Spencer said, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and follow us on YouTube to check out all the great videos and stuff we put on. Spencer, thanks again, man, and have a great evening.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Dennis. Hey, guys, Junkies out. Bang.
Hello there, wrestling fans. This is John Bullard, owner of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, and you're listening to What Do You Say with DDJ.
Thank you so much, Spencer and Jovan, for doing the show with me today. I really enjoyed everything you both had to say, and I hope that those of you listening to this got a little bit more of an insight in just who Spencer and Jovan are outside of them being hosts of the Junkyard. They're a couple of great guys. I love doing the Junkyard with them, and I was honored to have them on my show. Like I said, coming soon will be the guys from Such Good Shoot, and then also I will be planning on having the guys responsible for Brad and Steven's Talking Wrestling. So, and once again, check us all out on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook page. Come on in, join. We're a positive wrestling community. We do all sorts of fun things. We do virtual meet and greets. We do raffles. We do card breaks and lots of different things to comment about. So if you're a wrestling fan and like to be positive, this is the place to be. And don't forget to search Pro Wrestling Junkies wherever you get your podcast to not only listen to my show, but to also listen to the Junkyard, listen to Such Good Shoot, as well as Brad and Steven's Talking Wrestling. And again, be sure to check us out. We drop new episodes every week. I'm on Mondays. The Junkyard drops episodes every Tuesday. Brad and Steven drops every Wednesday, and Such Good Shoot goes live on Facebook every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with an audio version dropping at 4:20 a.m. Eastern Time every Saturday morning. So that is all the time I have for this very special episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. Stay tuned, and I'll see you back in about a week with a brand new episode. Thanks for listening, everyone.
If you love professional wrestling and great podcasts, check out What Do You Say with DDJ on Facebook, Twitter, and also on ProWrestlingTees.com. In the search field, just type in DDJ and buy the best professional wrestling podcast shirt around.